Hello everybody, welcome to Brew from the Bothy number 10. We made it to 10, woohoo! I just realised that I don't think I've introduced myself since the first podcast, so my name is Faye. I'm podcasting from Cheshire in the middle of England, although the accent is very much Scottish. I currently live in England. We have grand plans to move back to the homeland, Matthew and I. So Matthew's my husband. I'm currently in Cheshire and I love to crochet and knit things. That is my absolute passion. I'm also a crochet predominantly and knitwear designer, but mainly crochet, and I love proper woolly wool. So that's a lot of what I talk about in the podcast is wool, natural fibres, and design, and basically what I'm working on, because I also really love working from other people's patterns. I don't just stick to my own, although sometimes there might be lengths of time where I'm on commission and deadline and I just have to keep on talking about the same pattern for a while, but that's part of the process and showing you what it's like to design and the pitfalls of it and everything that goes along with it. So you're very welcome to my little corner of YouTube. It's really lovely to have you here with me. And let's crack on, get into it. It is, what's the date today? It's 9th of July. This is like a really odd time for us because we've got a 2-week period where lots has happened in the past, and it's like our birthday weekend. So like very sadly, a week ago was it's like the anniversary of the death of my dad, and my lovely beloved dad. And sorry. But it's then also our birthday weekend, so we've got like this weird juxtaposition where I'm trying to do my dad's memory justice. Sorry. And I'm going to keep this in because this is real life. I really miss my dad. So we try and celebrate the life of my dad. He only passed 2 years ago. So we've got that happens, and then we're into our birthday celebrations. Matthew's 3 years older than me, but he was only born 2 days later. So we have this weird position where for 2 days of every year he can try and say that he's only 2 years older than me. So we try and have a lot of fun around our birthdays because they're at the same time. And we also got married on my birthday only because we couldn't get married on the day in between our birthdays. So we have this huge celebratory time around our birthday times. We don't do lots, but we really kind of celebrate the fact that we're together and have a nice time. But it's not solid, it's not at all solid, that's not what I mean, but it is, we've got like a period of sadness that you work up to, and then we have this like joyous time where we are celebrating life. Although, I really like to celebrate the life of my dad as well. Right, I'm going to stop now. I'll move this on. This wasn't my intention, but this is life. This is what it's like at this time. Right. What have I been doing? Let me show the disgustingness that is the yarn receipt from a trip that I took yesterday with my friend Heather. Normally we would sit in Trentham Gardens, which is a beautiful garden estate. It's really quite a creative space, and we sit there and we shoot the breeze and we sit and work on designs together, which from a designer's point of view is really important because sometimes you can feel like making the thing is like a bit of a cheat of a job. There can be quite a lot of guilt attached to sitting and crocheting or knitting as a job. So we find it really easy to meet up with each other for a day every 2 weeks and sit and make the things that we need to make for our jobs, because it detaches some of the guilt for it. Yesterday I decided to change it up a little bit, and instead we went to Black Sheep Wools, which if you're UK based, many of you will have heard of because they sell a lot of stuff online. To be honest, even if you're global, you might have heard quite a lot about Black Sheep Wools. They're a large independent family run wool company, and they do all sorts of stuff, and I purposefully wanted to go up there. It's maybe about 45 minutes from our house. I don't have a local yarn shop, so for me to get to any decent sized yarn shop with decent yarn in it, I probably have to travel 40 to 45 minutes away. Not a hardship for me. I love driving. I love wool in it. So we headed up there, and it was with a sense of purpose, because I wanted to go and have a look at some more budget-friendly yarns. So I'm looking for cottons and linens and really high wool content. So if you're new to the channel, sorry, let's just dab away that little tear that I've got there. If you're new to the channel, I'm really heavily invested, like wholeheartedly, in wool, in the British breed industry, in trying to highlight what we've got for wool in the UK. But that often comes with a premium in terms of pricing and cost. And I recognise that not everybody can afford that band and bracket of wool. So I wanted to do some digging. I've wanted to do this for a while, but yesterday I made a point of going and having a look. I was looking for different blends of wool that are 75% wool and upwards. So that's what I would use maximum for sock wool. So it would be hypocritical for me to say I'm only looking at 100% wool, because that's not right. I use nylon polyamide in a lot of my sock wool now. I just do, because it works and it brings the durability. So I'm looking for more budget brands that will hit that percentage wool blend or alpaca or whatever it is and above. So that's why I went foraging in black sheep wools yesterday. I am not going to show you everything that I got, because it's a lot, but this was the size of my receipt that came off the till. Like, that's a lot of wool. But I'm going to show you some of the bits and pieces that I've got in there. They have all sorts in black sheep wools. They've got West Yorkshire spinners. They do King Cole, which I've never used in my life. They do Signet, which I've never used in my life. But both of which they produce in Turkey, and they have 25% wool blends with 75% wool blends with 25% nylon. They had chapiers in there. They had all sorts of stuff. So it was just a really good way of looking at where the different yarn ranges are. So what ideally I would love to do is pull together a blog post which has got like top range £20 plus for 100 grams of wool, and that is most likely really going to concentrate on like British breeds and everything in there, because that is the higher end of the price bracket. Then there's going to be a 10 to 20, which is most likely where most of your kind of slightly larger scale brands but still British breeds and some slightly fancier yarns will sit in that bracket. And then a load of things that are £10 and under, or even £5 and under, that are wool or cotton but really decent quality are in there. Now, one of the real benefits of me taking Heather is she has used a lot of different cottons, and I would say black sheep wools maybe stock, it's a lot, maybe 30 different types of cotton, probably more actually, because they've got most of the Chapiers range. And I was able to pick her brains and say, what about this one, this one, this one? And she was able to say, splitty, horrible, didn't wash well, and then we came back with a handful of cottons actually she would recommend and that she likes and she uses time and time again in her designs. And I'm able to do the same back for wool for her, although she also deals with wool. So it was a really handy trip. But let me show you some of the little bits that I got out of there. I've been looking for this one for quite some while. This is, when I say quite some while, it's newly launched, but I was looking for images of it on the internet as soon as I heard about it. This is West Yorkshire Spinners, and this is part of their new butterfly range. This one is small tortoise shell. The reason I think this is interesting is because it does go through some colour sequencing, and if I hold that, maybe you can see there. So you do get some colour banding with it. I think West Yorkshire Spinners have finally created a sock yarn that is painted or variegated, but kind of feral, not feral, but that will work for crochet and crocheted socks. I personally don't like the 4-ply birds range that they do, the signature birds range, crocheted up. I just don't like it. I don't like the effect. It colour pools. It's not refined enough for my taste. I think this is going to work. So I bought 2 balls because I want to knit a pair and I want to crochet a pair. And crocheting socks definitely will use more yarn. So I thought if I buy 2, then what I've got left over from my knitted socks, if I need it, I've got it from my crocheted socks. But the plan is, at some point, to crochet and knit a pair of socks and show you what the difference is in this yarn. This is one of my favourite sock yarns. It's really heavy wearing, but it's nice to wear. The twist on it is amazing, and it's very durable. And it is British yarn. Let me see what it is. 75% wool, spun in Yorkshire, and 25% nylon. Like proper good British yarn, but this is £8.50 a ball. So that would go into my lower end price bracket, £10 and under for 100 grams. Love it. In the future, that is coming. And then I also found, I've not come across this before, and this was like right at the end of our session, and we spent a good maybe 3 hours in black sheep wools. But I found that King Cole have a 100% recycled wool. They have called it chunky, but actually I would say it's an Aran worsted weight. It is coming in at 190 metres per 100 grams, and it's got a really lovely twist on it. Let's get my hair out of the equation. Can you see that? Really nice twist on it, and I love that it's recycled wool. Also, that part of my ethos is that I studied conservation and countryside management, so my approach to lots of stuff in life is from an environmental basis. Not everything, I'm not holier than thou, but the idea of having recycled wool really appeals to me. So I picked up quite a lot of this. This was £4.99 a ball, so that's recycled 100 grams of wool for under £5. And I picked up 3 different colourways. I don't think their colour palette was the best. If I got hold of it, I would make it slightly different. But I found that these 3 colours together worked really nicely. That cream's kind of blowing out a little bit. But these 3 colours worked really nicely. And I got quite a lot of this because I have a blanket pattern that ashamedly went into Inside Crochet 5 or 6 years ago. I think I was working on it just before we moved here, so probably 5 years ago. And it just needs a refresh. At the time I used West Yorkshire Spinners Chunky Retreat, I think it was, and that blanket has since been put through the ringers with my best friend's little boy. It's his favourite blanket. It has got holes in it. It's just in an absolute state. It's in tatters. So it's due a remake anyway. Jenny will be appalled if I try and give her a new blanket in these colours, but never mind, Josh will like them. And I thought I would just try it with an Aran weight, so use exactly the same pattern, but try it on Aran weight, so then when I release the pattern, probably as a free one, it will be able to go as a chunky or an Aran weight pattern. So that is the plan for this, and it also means it's going to be a really affordable blanket, but wool. Like, it's going to actually be wool. And recycled, even better. Let me just have a slurp. So, quite the haul. I've got loads of others, but I was looking for lots of different wools that will hit those different price points, ones that I haven't tried. And the ultimate point of this is I want to be able to swatch up lots of wools, lots of different blends, cottons, linens, other fibres, natural fibres, so that when I put forward a design, rather than at the moment my patterns just say substitute for something of a similar blend, blah blah blah. It's a bit of a get out clause if I'm being honest, but also I can't give you the details for every single substitute you ever could make, but I can start working up swatches for bits that I think are really worthwhile. Like, you could try cotton and then that would be a different price point. So I'm trying to do a bigger piece of work that will still allow me to use some very lovely British yarns, but I'm trying to make the overall pattern more accessible to more people. That's the piece that I'm trying to talk through. So I would really love it if you could hit me up in the comments and tell me what your favourite yarns are. Doesn't matter what the budget point is. My only caveat would be that I am definitely looking for stuff that is 75% wool and above. but it could or 100% cotton. I'm just not, it's not my thing to deal with acrylic. Like I said, I come from an environmental basis. I'm not into acrylic. I don't use acrylic. If you do, that's good on you. That's your thing. It's not my thing. So any blog posts, I'm just trying to be really truthful about this because I don't want to waste your time. But any blog posts that I pull together, I am not going to be highlighting acrylic plastic-based yarns in it. I'm just not. So what is your favourite wool yarn blends or 100% wool? Who are your people? What's the price bracket? Are you using it for crochet or for knitting? What are your go-to ones? I would love comment, just keep on hitting me with comments. Even if you think a week later, oh yeah, and there's this one, I'd love to hear it. And I don't care where you are in the world. I would love to pull together just a really decent blog post on different yarns that are available at the different price points. You'd really be doing me a favour and highlighting other yarns to me that I simply don't know about. I know a lot of yarns, I've worked with a lot of yarns, but I also very definitely have my old favourites that I keep on going back to for good reason. So yeah, hit me up, show me some new yarns I know nothing about, and make me buy more yarn. Love it. Right, let me have a slurp. Okay, what else have we got? Let me show you a couple of projects that I've got onto. I think this one is going to be my thumbnail, and I think the title for the podcast has to be Prosecco did this. Let me just... every time I say it, I wish you had smell-o-vision because this is unbelievably shapy. I am on my second sleeve on my Astrid Jumper. I've finally pulled it all together. Look at that bottom. I love the way that rib pulls round. And as you can see, it's got quite an open gauge. I've talked about this in the last couple of podcasts. But I've started the second sleeve before I finished the first one. There's good reason for that. Look. Nice knitting, nice knitting, nice knitting. Honky knitting here. This is terrible. I mean, the difference. It's nice, it's awful, it gets back to nice again. This, it was two things, but mainly it was Prosecco. I'd had probably 2 or 3 glasses of fizz when I was on this part, and I should have put the needles down. I should not have continued. But also I changed from slightly bigger needles down to smaller needles here, and I probably changed a little bit too quickly, and I should have waited until I was up here. And it changed my tension. I didn't realise because Prosecco, and it wasn't until I got to it the next morning and started up here. There is literally a timeline of went to bed with Prosecco in me, woke up without Prosecco in me, and kept on knitting. So I figured, you know what, we'll talk about it, and I'll show it off in the podcast, because my theory is this will probably wet block out. I'm going to take some photos beforehand, and I'm going to test it. So I've stopped knitting on it. I'm going to finish all of this sleeve, get the rib on it, and then I'm going to wet block and see what it does. And if it sorts itself out, then I won't need to rip it back, and if it doesn't, then I will need to rip it back. But it's appalling knitting, and I am a massive fan of wet blocking, so I just want to show the case for wet blocking and how, hopefully, fingers crossed, your gauge can be completely off, your stitches can look shonky as hell, but actually wet blocking just is magic. That's what I'm hoping for. So, come next podcast, I will have finished definitely the other sleeve, I will have wet blocked, and we'll see what this looks like. We'll use it as a learning experience, and we'll see if wet blocking will do the trick. So I'm cracking on with Astrid, and there are so many other things that I want to get on with. So I kind of want this off my needles, not because I'm not enjoying it, but because I am really enjoying it, and I really want to get into loads of other projects. I keep on buying patterns at the moment, and I just want to make all the things all the time. I'm not exactly blessed with a lot of free time though, so that's an issue. Right, what else do we have? I also started, I showed you I got some socks at the John Arban Open Weekend, which was dyed on their Exmoor sock base by Charlotte at Nevers Fibres. The colourway was called Tiptoe, and I was pairing it up with Exmoor sock in, can't remember what the russet colour is called. But Tiptoe is on their grey base, and it just has little blips of rust in it, which I am such a rust fan. I absolutely love them. And I have started a pair of really simple ribbed socks. These are a 3x1 knitted sock, and I'm going to call them the Garth socks. Now, that is a deep cut Wayne's World reference. I'd love to know if you get the reference. And the plan with this is I'm going to knit one and then knit a shorty sock as well, because I'll have enough yarn between the 150 grams. And then once I've knitted one, I will then take video tutorials of exactly how I knit a sock, a ribbed sock. So 1 in 3x1 rib, because the ratio would be slightly different for me on how many stitches you cast on. And then I also want to do 1 in 2x2 rib, which is the shorty sock, in which case it's the same stitch starting point for every single sock. So I want to be able to talk through them, colour changes, the cast on method that I use, the heel flap that I use, the gusset, my rounded toe that I use, doing grafting at the end. I want to do tutorials for every single one, but build it up as a little series. And I think if I can do that and also explain it, then for crocheters, it will explain the approach that I'm going to have for the crocheted socks that I'm going to design, because it's the same idea, it's the same methodology, and it explains the different parts then of the foot and how you're trying to get fit for that foot. So it's part of a larger kind of idea and project, but for right now, I get to knit on my Garth socks and this amazing yarn. I love it when a little blip of rust comes up. It just makes me so happy. So that's what I have been knitting on, and by rights I shouldn't really have cast this on, but I was in a slump because of my dad's anniversary, and I was like, rusty yarn will bring me joy and I'm going to cast on new socks, and so I did. Right, that bit done. Astrid done, Garth we've done. Kin Jumper has gone. I posted it off. This is, sorry, not jumper, Kin Cardigan has gone. I posted it to the tech editor at Journal of Scottish Yarns on Tuesday. Was that yesterday? On Monday? That was 2 days ago. And it's done. I took photos of it at the beach. I didn't buy enough of it, and the next batch was just so much lighter. So I asked my friend Becky at RIVERKNITS whether she could overdye all of this yarn, and she did. There's the colour match that she did for me. It's sensational. Becky's a wizard. Like, I don't know how she did it. So on the video that I'm going to put in here, tell me if you can see where I put the second yarn, because I can't tell. I know because obviously I did it, but I can't tell. One of them is the original, one is what Becky overdyed. Incredible. She properly saved my bacon and made me not have to rip out the entire thing, buy 500 grams of yarn and start the whole thing again. Thankfully, I just had to finish it off with this. What an absolute job she did for me. It was just amazing. So I'm grateful, but have a look at the video and tell me what you think. Yesterday, one of the other yarns I got is I really want to make a kin cardigan in cotton as well, because I think it would really lend itself to summer weight and summer yarn. And so I got hold of some James C. Brett. It's 100% pure cotton DK. Now they call it a DK, but again, it is 215 meters per 100 grams. It's kind of in that DK to Aran weight, I would say. So yes, call it a DK, but it's also more on Aran. Now the original yarn that I used kin cardigan is 280 meters per 100 grams, but I'm pretty sure that I've just managed to get gauge. I swatched this up last night with the cotton, and I'm pretty sure I've got gauge. I need to wet block it and just double check, but this is the colour I'm thinking of, with doing a contrast trim in this lighter colour. That's shown quite grey on the screen. It's actually just like quite a dusty version of the light teal on top. So that is going to get underway, and I'll probably just share it with you when I get to the end of it, because you've seen so much kin cardigan of late. I don't need to keep on hitting you with that. But yeah, that is underway, and this is like part of exactly what I was talking about with different yarns. This is part of my effort to show how else you can make my patterns if you don't want wool, or you just want to try a different fibre. So that is a thing that is happening soon. And then the final thing that I probably need to tell you about is I have the tiniest little swatch. I mean, it's barely really a swatch, but it gave me an idea. This is probably where I start most of my designs from that I don't have a really good idea with. I will just find either the same yarn that I'm going to use or something that's got a similar drape, similar meterage, and I will start playing. I'll put a hook in and I'll keep on going until I get to the thing that I want. And this is nothing like the thing that I want, but this is going to become, when it grows up, a shawl, a one skein crocheted shawl using Irish Artisan Yarns Tara's yarn, which is a blend of merino, bamboo and silk. So the drape on this is going to be incredible, and I have to have this ready for Yarn Deal as a launch, a crocheted shawl launch for Tara. So I'm going to be working on this nice little 100 gram lightweight shawl while we're in 30 degrees every day for the next, I think, a week or so. So something a little more forgiving than a 500 gram wool cardigan. Yay! Right. I think that's everything. I have no idea how long I've been recording for, so hopefully we're at about the half an hour mark. It's probably more. Thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoy having this space open now, and to be not to keep on dwelling on this, but because my dad passed, it really made me like look at life and the things that really matter. And the mantra that always comes back into my head is life is short, do the things. So actually one of the reasons I came back to podcasting is because life is short, do the things. And I was really missing that connection of community. So like there's a silver lining for me of something that was a really horrible thing, but actually I'm here and I'm doing this because my dad is prodding me to do it. Like everything that happened makes me look forward with positivity and just keep on going and going and going, because there's one time on this earth and I want to max out on it. That is how I feel. I want to do all the things. I want to try all the things. I want to go at all of this life with energy. So hopefully that comes across, and like my positivity just like radiates out. That's what I would love. Right, lovely folks. Lovely for you to come and spend time with me. Lovely to be with you. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me about yarns. I would love some new yarns from you folks. Lovely to spend time with you. Bye bye.